Welcome to Stoned Stories with me, Paige. How are you? Whether you need an escape or just a moment to unwind, you're in the right place. Everyone loves a story, and everyone needs a break. So sit back and let me take you on a gemological journey. And while we're at it, let's get stoned. What if I told you that one of the rarest gemstones on Earth was discovered by accident? A stone so strange that miners thought it was an emerald by day and then watched it turn red by night. A gemstone born from geological impossibilities, a crystal forged where rocks that should never meet somehow collided. A gem that became the pride of emperors, a symbol of luck, a symbol of tragedy, a symbol of duality itself. Today, we're exploring Alexandrite, the gemstone that lives in two worlds. Some gemstones are rare because they require unusual ingredients. Alexandrite is rare because it requires a miracle. To understand why, we have to begin deep underground. At its core, Alexandrite is a variety of the mineral chrysoberyl. Its chemical formula is simple enough: beryllium, aluminum, oxygen. But chemistry alone doesn't create Alexandrite. For that, nature must add a final ingredient: chromium. Only tiny traces are required, yet those traces change everything. When chromium replaces aluminum within the crystal's atomic structure, the chromium atoms slightly distort the optical effect of the gem. And the unique way the gem absorbs and translates light creates one of the most remarkable optical effects in gemology: the famous Alexandrite effect. That effect that causes the gem to appear emerald green in daylight and raspberry red beneath candlelight or incandescent light. Emerald by day, ruby by night. Few gemstones have earned a nickname so perfectly. But even chromium isn't enough. Nature adds another challenge. Silica must be absent. If silica is present, the beryllium and aluminum would typically form emerald instead. One of my favorites, but not Alexandrite. The ingredients needed for Alexandrite usually exist in completely different geological environments. Beryllium tends to occur in granitic pegmatites and hydrothermal systems. Examples are Western United States, Madagascar, Eastern Asia. Chromium is often found in ultramafic rocks. Examples: South Africa, Australia, and Canada. Normally, these two volcanic minerals, they never meet. For Alexandrite to form, tectonic forces must perform an extraordinary act of geological matchmaking. Hot beryllium-rich fluids meet chromium-bearing rocks. Heat rises, pressure builds, minerals react, and within a narrow zone of metamorphic transformation, Alexandrite begins to crystallize. And these are places where continents once collided with enough force to rearrange the Earth itself. In other words, the ancient volcanoes had to accidentally put together the perfect recipe, and then the tectonic plates had to shift within a very specific spot in order to activate all the ingredients. And once they all meet and mix together, millions of years later, a gemstone is born. Today, scientists can reproduce those conditions. In laboratories, Alexandrite is grown using methods such as the Swarovski process. Raw materials are melted together, a tiny seed crystal is introduced, then slowly pulled upward. Layer by layer, week after week, the crystal grows. The resulting gemstone is chemically, physically, and optically identical to natural Alexandrite. The same chemistry, the same crystal structure, the same color change. Only the birthplace differs. Nature requires millions of years. The laboratory needs only weeks. And yet, despite humanity's ability to recreate it, the original remains among the most coveted gemstones on Earth. Because every natural Alexandrite represents a geological accident, so unlikely that it borders on impossible. The story of Alexandrite truly begins in Russia, specifically the Ural Mountains. In the early 1830s, miners working emerald deposits uncovered a peculiar green crystal. Nothing remarkable at first. In fact, the stone was reportedly mistaken for a poor quality emerald.
The miners brought it back to camp.
And that evening, the crystal was examined under candlelight. Suddenly, the green stone turned red, and imagine witnessing that moment. No modern gemology, no spectroscopy, no scientific explanation, just a stone changing colors before your eyes. It must have felt like magic. Like many great gemstone stories, what happened next depends on who is telling it. The popular legend says the stone was discovered on April 29th, 1834, the 16th birthday of Tsarevich Alexander Nilayevich, the future Tsar Alexander II. According to the story, the gem was named Alexandrite in his honor, a perfect royal coincidence. Evidence suggests the gemstone was likely discovered several years earlier. Finnish mineralogist Niels Gustav Nordenskjöld examined the stone and reportedly wanted to name it diasonite, referring to the stone's translucence and two sides of the stone's appearing and being unseen at the same time. A beautiful name, one history never received. Instead, Count Lev Perovsky saw an opportunity. The gemstone was formally presented to the young crown prince in 1834 and officially named Alexandrite, not merely as a scientific discovery, but as a political gift, a gemstone dedicated to the future ruler of Russia. The timing could not have been better, because the gem possessed the exact colors of Imperial Russia, green and red, the colors of military uniforms, the colors of the Imperial Guard, the colors of power. Almost immediately, Alexandrite became the gemstone of the Russian aristocracy. The Tsar embraced it. Military officers wore it, nobles collected it. Owning Alexandrite became a statement of patriotism, prestige, and loyalty to the empire. It wasn't merely a gemstone, it was a national symbol, the stone of the Tsars. And perhaps no gemstone has ever mirrored the fate of its namesake so eerily. Alexander II survived multiple assassination attempts throughout his reign, again and again until 1881, when a bomb finally killed him. And after his death, many Russians began viewing Alexandrite differently. The gemstone's daily transformation suddenly felt prophetic. Green by morning, red by night. Hope becoming blood, promise becoming tragedy. And the dual colors that once symbolized imperial glory became a reminder of how quickly fortune can change. And perhaps that's why Alexandrite became associated with something deeper than royalty, duality itself. Because Alexandrite literally exists in two visual worlds. Mystics couldn't resist assigning meaning to that. Daytime green became associated with the physical world, nature, growth, vitality, the visible realm. Nighttime red became associated with passion, spirit, mystery, the unseen world. The gemstone is believed to bridge the two, hoping its wearer remain grounded while staying open to intuition and imagination. Some traditions call it a stone of balance. Others called it a stone of transformation. Many called it lucky. Western astrologers linked Alexandrite to Mercury, the planet of intellect, communication, adaptation, and transition, a perfect match for a gem that constantly changes in its appearance. It became known as the counselor's stone, a talisman for leaders, teachers, diplomats. People were required to see both sides of a situation, to understand multiple perspectives simultaneously. The gemstone became associated with creativity as well, with flashes of inspiration, moments when intuition succeeds where logic fails. Similar themes appear in Vedic astrology, known as Jyotish, the science of light, one of the oldest astrological traditions in the world. Unlike Western astrology, Vedic astrology uses sidereal zodiac based on the actual positions of constellations. Practitioners map planetary influence to understand karma, life's purpose, and timing. While emerald traditionally corresponds to Mercury and red coral corresponds to Mars, some practitioners view Alexandrite as uniquely capable of harmonizing both energies, intellect and action, thought and passion, mind and will. The same balance appears as in Kabbalah, the Jewish mystical tradition that explores the relationship between the human soul and the divine. In the symbolic tree of life, Mercury aligns with Hod, the sphere of intellect and communication. Mars aligns with Gevura, the sphere of action, judgment, and strength. A gemstone shifting visibly between opposing states becomes a natural metaphor for moving between these forces, a visual representation of balance, of transition, of duality, the same themes we've been repeating. But duality has another side, and Alexandrite eventually acquired a darker reputation. After World War II, the Soviet Union suffered catastrophic losses. An estimated 27 million people died. Not every family knew grief, but nearly every family. And natural Alexandrite remained rare and unattainable. But synthetic color-changing stones became common. Many women wore them while waiting for their husbands who would never return. Slowly, folklore changed. The green became hope, the red became blood, and the gemstone became known by a haunting nickname, the widow's stone, a reminder that fortune can change as quickly as the light. Perhaps that's fitting, because Alexandrite had always existed between opposites: luck and sorrow, empire and collapse, hope and grief, science and mysticism, day and night, and today the original Russian deposits are nearly exhausted. The legendary Ural mountain stones are among the most prized gemstones on Earth. Many now reside in museums as private collections. New deposits have been discovered all over the world. In Minas Gerais, Brazil, where the most famous Alexandrite mines worldwide, is setting standards for modern Alexandrite and is prized for its high clarity and color saturation. These stones also appear with yellow-green to orange-red shifts. Then there's the mine in Sri Lanka, which can be found in central, southern, and southwestern regions of the country. Here, Alexandrite mining is typically small-scale operations, with miners dropping up to 20 meters deep. Compare that to the 300-meter deep mines in Russia. Tanzania is home to the world-class Alexandrite, with desirable color shifts between a bluish-green to a purple-red. Mines in Madagascar are known for producing much larger, high-quality rough gemstone material. Yet gemologists still compare the gemstones from all of these mines to the Russian originals, because very few modern stones display the same dramatic transformation, that vivid green and that raspberry red, that almost impossible contrast. And rarity has its consequences. High-quality Alexandrite is often more valuable than diamond. Stones under 1 carat may sell for $3,000 to $15,000 per carat. 1 to 2 carat stones can reach $30,000 per carat, and exceptional gems over 2 carats routinely exceed $100,000 per carat. The most important factor isn't size, it's color change. Collectors want transformation. The stronger the shift, the greater the value. Origin matters. Russian stones command the highest premiums. Clarity matters, cut matters, but above all else, they want to see the magic.
But perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Alexandrite isn't how it changes color. It's where some of the world's finest stones disappeared to. Because unlike diamonds, Alexandrite rarely makes headlines. There's no hope diamond, no crown jewel, no single stone whose story is known around the world. Instead, Alexandrite's history is filled with vanishings. The first disappearances began in Imperial Russia. For decades after its discovery in the Ural Mountains, Alexandrite became the gemstone of the Russian aristocracy. Nobles commissioned rings, brooches, necklaces, and ceremonial pieces featuring the rare color-changing gem. The finest specimens were reserved for the wealthiest families in the empire. Then came revolution, and in 1917, the Romanov dynasty fell, and chaos swept across Russia. Palaces were looted, aristocratic estates were seized, noble families fled the country, carrying whatever valuables they could conceal. Some stitched jewels into clothing, others hid treasures in luggage or entrusted them to friends before escaping into Europe. Among these treasures were some of the finest Alexandrites ever mined. And then, many simply vanished. Today, gem historians know extraordinary Russian Alexandrites once existed, but countless stones disappeared into private collections, were sold anonymously, or changed hands so many times that their origins were lost. Somewhere in the world, remarkable Imperial Alexandrite may still survive, pass quietly through generations, their connection to the Russian Empire long forgotten. Yet that's only the beginning. More than a century later, another Alexandrite mystery emerged, thousands of miles away in Brazil. In 1967, miners uncovered what is still believed to be the largest gem-quality Alexandrite crystal ever discovered. The specimen became known as the Sawyer Alexandrite. It weighed more than 122,000 carats. That's over 50 pounds of color-changing crystal. For decades, visitors could see the giant specimen displayed in Brazil. It became one of the most famous Alexandrites on Earth, not because it was cut-and-knit jewel, but because of its astonishing size. Then something strange happened. After the death of its owner, the stone was removed from public display. No theft was reported. No crime was committed. But the world's largest Alexandrite effectively disappeared from public view. Today, the crystal is believed to still exist, somewhere behind closed doors, hidden in a private collection or secured in storage. The public no longer knows where it is. A gemstone larger than a person, capable of changing color before your eyes, simply vanished from the site. And Alexandrite has one more secret. In Paris, inside the collection of the School of Mines, researchers discovered a remarkable Alexandrite that had spent roughly 140 years hidden away in museum storage. Generation after generation walked past the institution without realizing one of the world's most important historic Alexandrites sat quietly in darkness nearby. For more than a century, it was effectively forgotten. No theft, no robbery, just a treasure lost to memory. Maybe that is fitting for Alexandrite, a gemstone that seems to transform before your eyes, a stone that refuses to be only one color, a gem whose history is filled not with famous crowns and public displays, but with hidden collections, forgotten vaults, vanished fortunes, and unanswered questions. Perhaps somewhere in a safe, a vault, or an old family jewelry box, an Imperial Russian Alexandrite still waits to be discovered or rediscovered, changing from green to red whenever the light shifts, keeping its secrets a little longer.
Today, Alexandrite serves as one of June's modern birthstones. It is also the traditional gemstone for the 65th wedding anniversary. And perhaps no gemstone is better suited for that role because a marriage lasting 55 years has likely experienced its own color changes, its own transformations, and its own shifts between light and shadow. Yet it endures, adapting, changing, remaining itself, much like Alexandrites. And maybe that's the lesson hidden inside this remarkable stone. The world often teaches us to choose one identity, one perspective, one truth. Alexandrite suggests something different. The growth may require contradiction. That wisdom may come from seeing both sides, and that same thing that can appear completely different depending on the light and still remain genuine, still remain real, still remain beautiful. A thought to leave you with. How many things in your life seem fixed only because you viewed them from a single angle? And if the light changed, what hidden colors might finally reveal themselves? Well, that concludes today's story. Tune in next week. Next episode is sure to be a gem.